lucid dreaming, here's the way I would explain it to you. First, a little bit of a story about it. When I was constructing this book, I said, lucid dreaming, oh no, I don't want to cover this. There can't be any science for it. 2 out of 9 chapters are on lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
And so again, that's it's refreshing for me. And the most rigorous science on dreaming is about lucid dreaming. So we talked earlier about the waking brain and the dreaming brain. Now we know that there's a sleep entry and there's a sleep exit. In the middle of dreaming, in the middle of the night, some people become aware, hey, I'm actually dreaming. And they become aware of the dream. And somebody might say, well, why is that unusual? Well, most dreams are in the rear view. You wake up and you say, oh, whoa, that was a dream.
Mm-hmm.
But like I had a vibrant one last night. And only when I woke up, I was like, wait a second, okay, that was only a dream. But when the dream was happening, I was fully inhabiting the dream. The dream was happening in my mind, right? And at the neuronal electrochemical level. So sleep entry, sleep exit, lucid dreaming is the return of awareness, allowing people to know that they are actually in a dream while dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not in the rear view like I had this morning. And so that's a big statement. And what I would say is there's proof for it. Lucid dreaming can be proven by this experiment that they did and have been doing. That's the thing about studies and experiments for your listeners. If somebody breaks into something new and it's real, you'll see an explosion of data in the scientific literature for that. And in the 70s, somebody said, wait a second, you're a lucid dreamer. You're telling me you can become aware while you're in a dream, while the dream is happening? And so they did a couple of things. They trained the person that rapid eye movement, which is like skittish eye movements when we sleep and dream. They said, if you're in a lucid dream and consciousness has returned, can you communicate with me like with your eyeballs through like a Morse code? And people should look this up. They left, right. They train these like eye pattern movements. At the same time, they put the electrodes on the surface of the scalp because a guy like me will be like, he's just woke up, right? Like, well, I need to know more than that. And they prove by the electricity that the person is truly asleep. Wow. So you can't fake being asleep.
No.
Across a glass, this person at a certain time in the middle of the night, proving they're asleep, starts to communicate with their eyeballs. And it still shows you're asleep. Communicating with the outside world when you're asleep. That's powerful. That's lucid dreaming. Am I a lucid dreamer? No. Have I had one or two? Yes. Did people working on this book start to? Yes. Can it be induced? Yes. And so lucid dreaming is powerful because, again, it's a liminal state, right? It's a bit of awareness. It's a bit of waking consciousness that has bubbled up during dreaming consciousness. And so nothing is rigid. Sleep entry. You don't go from wake to sleep in a second. It's not a hard line. So there are all these overlapping blurry states, and lucid dreaming is that. 2 more points about that. When you put those participants into brain scanners, that executive network I've been talking about, logic and stuff, is dampened. They show more blood flow to that area. Not as much as when you're awake, but the blood flow to the frontal cortex that does reason and logic and awareness is halfway.
Wow.
So this, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And so for everybody who's been a lucid dreamer and telling people to work and people are shaking you off like you're out of your head, tell them, no, there's the left to right eye movement proof. There's brain scan proof. Galantamine, that drug that makes lucid dreamers have more or have people start to lucid dream. There's a lot of scientific evidence for that. And the last thing is, so can we learn to lucid dream? And the lucid dream I had was a trippy one. I was in the pandemic and I was teaching the boys to sail. We got this boat. I had to get them outdoors. You can't have 3 dogs and puppies in the house and in a pandemic. I thought this is a luxury I have. We're by the water here in California. It was like I'm turning the helm hard, but I'm going horizontal on a giant like river pouring off into a waterfall. And it was just like, I'm trying so hard just to stand still. And, I just remember the whole thing, like this, my right arm. And this was during the construction of this book. And I thought to myself, that's interesting. It's very visual. I know I'm in a dream. I mean, those are unique experiences for me. Again, as a brain surgeon, they usually would not even explore these areas. But when I see the brain scan showing you're halfway between sleep and wake, when I see that drugs bring in lucid dreaming, I love pulling those two worlds together for people, you know? So I'm fascinated now with lucid dreaming. And I think about a third of people do it. Like 30 to 40% report it. Sometimes more, sometimes less. Athletes tend to have it more. Gamers tend to have it more. Visual spatial creative people tend to have more lucid dreams. First thing they should do is look up MILD, lucid dreaming, mild technique. So there are a lot of techniques written about since antiquity. People have cultivated spirituality with that. This is a massive topic.
Faiths use it a lot.
Yeah. So mild technique. And what it is waking up a bit earlier than you plan to or should, and then trying to hold on to consciousness and waking life as you drift into sort of back into sleep. The technique is described in the book, and you can look it up online. But I want people to know why I mentioned that technique after 4 or 5 is because there is a study when they took a bunch of people and they said, okay, we're going to teach you the left, right Morse code. You practice this technique, then we're going to get you in the sleep lab. It's not my experiment, or it's not my investigation. We're going to get you in the sleep lab. Okay, now prove to us with your eyeball movements that you're actually lucid dreaming. Everything before that was a survey like, yeah, I did it and I'm lucid dreaming more. I believe people, but I like that extra bit of proof. So the mild technique is proven with the left, right Morse code technique that clearly shows you are asleep based on your brain electricity and you are using eye patterns. So much so, this is a banger. They started doing a little bit of math. 2 plus 2, and they'd have code. And somebody says to me, I think I was in Paris, and I said, wait a second, you said the dreaming brain doesn't do math. I said, yeah, but I also showed you the brain scans that show a bit of awareness and has come back, as does the bit of ability to do math. So I love seeing those pieces come in consistently. So I would say I'll tell you my approach. I mean, again, that's a massive topic you've just asked of me. Is one, there are dreams that clearly reflect your waking anxiety, showing up late, alarm doesn't go off, showing up naked at a podium because you're worried about public speaking. So some don't require you to spend too much time on them. Number 2, there are universal dreams, nightmares and erotic dreams. We've talked about that a little bit. Number 3, there are dreams that are just static, Let's not hold dreaming thought and emotions to what we wouldn't waking thought. There's a lot of stuff we do within the day we don't even hold on to, right? Similarly. The 4th are genre dreams, pregnancy dreams. Massive lifetime events are happening. Massive lifetime events are happening in your dreaming. That's consistent. The ones that I would say to people are to focus on are the ones that are hyper emotional, and they linger into the next day. You can try to cultivate it with the morning technique we talked about, a slower rise, not switching to email and Instagram too quickly. But the hyper emotional dream is one to reflect upon. Here's why. The emotional systems of your brain, called limbic structures, and the brain has the reptilian brain inside our throat, sort of back there. That's instinct. It makes you take a breath when you're underwater. Above it developed the emotional brain, much like what my dog has. They have intuition, they have instinct. That's called the limbic system, and people can look this up. And there's circuits in there, like the Papez circuit, and it's a fascinating part of the brain. And then on top of it is a giant frontal cortex. The frontal cortex is integrated with all those. They're all intertwined. There is no dopamine. There's a reward pathway that jumps from the reptilian to the emotional but to get things done, our advantage and the thing that blossomed our foreheads forward was logic and reason, the executive and the CEO. So I believe that limbic system, those emotional systems are dampened during the day for productivity, conventional productivity, not creativity. And what's happening with your dreams is the roles are reversed. And the emotional systems can achieve a top speed that your waking life can't. So if you have emotions, thoughts, and experiences from a hyper-emotional, hyper-liberated brain, that's the one to reflect on within your life. And I've given a few specific examples. And the process of reflecting, what it means, it's individual to you. If you are having nightmares and you don't have them, and you think your day, wait, my day is fine. I'm having a lot of nightmares when I don't. Let that be a warning sign to reflect more upon yourself. If you're struggling with a relationship and you have dreams of falling or hyper emotional dreams of being chased, uh, that's your relationship symbolically finding itself into your dreams. If you are at the end of life and you're having a lot of dreams about reconciliation, that's the dreaming process coming to your rescue. At the end of life, dreams serve a different function. I think they bring a solace, and there's evidence coming out now that even when our heart is stopped, the last thing a brain does is have one massive dream in the last minute or two, potentially experiencing the universal feature of near-death experiences. So know that a hyper-emotional dream comes from a hyper-emotional state that's individual to your brain, and that no one can give you, no one has access to. And maybe it's your responsibility to turn over that feeling and those thoughts and to pause for a minute and take all the information coming at you, take all the stuff you've gone through, and actually step aside for a little bit and say, hey, what was that solar flare from my mind? And if it's useful to you, great. If the process helps you remember those more, great. But if you just have that 5-10 minutes during your morning where you just remember that you were not resting the night before, that there was something wild and vibrant going on, and you got a glimpse of it, what it means is up to you, but definitely don't neglect it.